At 12:50 a.m., a man called 911 in pure panic. He said someone was chasing him. Less than 1 hour later, he disappeared forever. This is not a movie. This really happened. And to this day, no one knows how it ended. Tonight, you're going to hear one of the most unsettling disappearance cases in modern American history. A case with a real emergency call, a real police response, and absolutely no answers. This is the disappearance of Brandon Lawson. Brandon Lawson was a 26-year-old father of 4, living in San Angelo, Texas. He wasn't famous, he wasn't wealthy. He was a regular guy, an oil field worker, trying to build a life for his family. He and his common-law wife Ledessa had been together for 10 years. Friends and family described him as loving, protective, and completely devoted to his children. There was nothing about his life that suggested he would simply vanish one night without a word. He had a job he was good at and a family that adored him. But on August 8, 2013, everything changed. That evening, Brandon and Ledessa had an argument. It wasn't anything major, just a disagreement that happens in any long-term relationship. Frustrated, Brandon decided to leave their house to cool off. He got into his silver Ford F-150 truck and drove away around 11:53 p.m. He told Ledessa he was going to his father's house, which was some distance away. He was still angry, but this was something he'd done before, just drive to clear his head. She had no idea it would be the last time she ever saw him. A little over an hour later, at 12:30 a.m. on August 9th, Brandon called his brother, Kyle. He told Kyle he had run out of gas on Highway 277, near the town of Bronte, Texas. It was a remote stretch of road, dark and surrounded by vast, empty fields. Brandon asked his brother to bring him a gas can. Kyle agreed, but during the call, he noticed something was very wrong. Brandon sounded off. He was confused, scared, and distracted. Kyle later said his brother was not making much sense. Then, Brandon said something that chilled Kyle to the bone. "I'm in the middle of a field. Some guys are chasing me out of town." Before Kyle could get more information, Brandon's tone shifted. He said, "I need to get out of here," and abruptly ended the call. Confused and worried, Kyle and his girlfriend grabbed a gas can and headed out to find Brandon. They drove up and down Highway 277, but there was no sign of him or his truck. They called Brandon's phone repeatedly, but he didn't answer. While they were searching, something else was happening. Shortly after speaking with his brother, Brandon made a call that would haunt investigators and internet sleuths for years to come. He dialed 911. The call was received by a Tom Green County dispatcher at 12:50 a.m. The connection was poor, and Brandon's voice was frantic and hard to understand. The audio is incredibly difficult to decipher, but his fear is unmistakable. He told the dispatcher, "Yes, I'm in the middle of a field." He tried to explain his situation, saying a state trooper and some guys were involved. He said he needed the cops. His words were broken, overlapping, as if he was running or struggling to catch his breath while trying to explain what he was seeing. He said things like, "I ran into M," and mentioned that he had hit somebody. The dispatcher, struggling to understand him and get his exact location, tried to calm him down. She asked him repeatedly where he was. Brandon was never able to clearly state his location or what was truly happening. Then, he said something that sounds like, "I'm out of gas." A moment later, he said, "Please hurry." After that, the line went silent. The call ended. It was the last time anyone ever heard from Brandon Lawson. Meanwhile, Kyle and his girlfriend were still searching. Unbeknownst to them, a sheriff's deputy had already been dispatched to the area around 1:10 a.m., responding to a call from a truck driver who reported Brandon's abandoned F-150 parked partially in the roadway, creating a hazard. When the deputy arrived, he found the truck exactly where the trucker said it would be, on the side of Highway 277. The keys were gone, and there was no damage to the truck. Contradicting Brandon's claim that he had hit somebody, The doors were closed. There were no signs of a struggle, no blood, no obvious footprints, no clues whatsoever. It was as if Brandon had simply stepped out of his truck and evaporated into the West Texas night. While the deputy was examining the truck, Kyle and his girlfriend pulled up. They explained that it was Brandon's truck and that he had called them for gas, sounding panicked. The deputy took their statement and looked around the immediate area with a flashlight, but found nothing. He stayed at the scene for a while, and since there was no evidence of a crime, he simply had the truck towed. At this point, no one knew about the horrifying 911 call Brandon had made. His family just assumed he was hiding somewhere, maybe still upset from the earlier argument, and would show up eventually. Once the missing person report was filed, a massive search operation began. Search teams, including law enforcement and volunteers, spent days and then weeks combing the rugged area. They used helicopters with thermal imaging cameras, search dogs trained to find human remains, and teams on foot that scoured the sprawling fields and dense brush. The terrain was vast and unforgiving. Miles of flat land could easily hide a person, especially in the dark. Despite every effort and searching an area of several square miles, absolutely nothing was found. No body, no clothing, no cell phone. Not a single trace of Brandon Lawson. In the year since he vanished, countless theories have emerged, trying to explain what happened that night. The simplest theory is disorientation. Some believe that Brandon, possibly under the influence of something or simply panicked in the pitch-black darkness, wandered off into the fields, became lost, and eventually succumbed to the elements. The area is known for rattlesnakes and difficult terrain. Another theory suggests a hidden accident. Perhaps he fell into an unseen ravine or an old well, or collapsed from exhaustion or dehydration in a place the search teams missed. A third theory attempts to rationalize his fear. It suggests that Brandon may have misinterpreted something he saw or heard. In the isolation of a remote highway at night, headlights or voices could seem threatening. Maybe he mistook other drivers or even law enforcement for the guys he claimed were chasing him. However, none of these theories fully explain the sheer terror in his voice during the 911 call. They don't explain who they were. They don't explain why he felt the need to run and hide in a field. And they certainly don't explain how a grown man can disappear from the face of the earth without leaving a single trace behind. The 911 call remains the most baffling piece of the puzzle. Who was Brandon talking about when he said they? Why was his voice filled with such genuine fear? And how does a man just disappear without leaving a single piece of evidence? To this day, Brandon Lawson has never been found. His case remains open. There is no body, no closure for his 4 children, and no answers for his family, who are still desperately waiting. All that's left is a haunting 911 call, a voice lost in the night. If you're drawn to real disappearance cases and mysteries like this, consider subscribing to the channel. We explore new, true stories every week. Thanks for watching.